I'd like you to take a minute right now to make sure that you've clicked through on the link at the bottom of this slide and taken a close look at the image that I have copied here on this slide. It's really hard to read, so use the link below. So it's on page 4 of that document so that you can take a look at that process. Go ahead and hit stop now and do that if you hadn't had a chance. I have a feeling that many of you have either seen this process before or have been a part of this process and maybe not seen it written out in this way. I use this because it is part of a parent guide, and over the next 3 weeks, I'll use a lot of parent guides because I think they do a really good job of getting rid of the special ed language and explaining all of these processes in more of a layperson's terms, general education and for parents. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because I think this image and those descriptions do a really good job of talking through the process of when it is suspected that a student might have a disability. So up in the top left corner, there's a light blue time clock, and it says process starts here. And I'd like you to take a look at steps 1, 2, and 3. In that there is a referral. That's pretty common knowledge that anytime anyone suspects that a student has a disability, that doesn't just mean struggling in school, but it has a disability. They are referred verbally, email. It comes from a parent, could come from a teacher, could come from a lot of different directions, but there is a referral made for special education. And in Michigan, we call the next step a READ. And that is the referral for an existing educational data, where we review everything that we have and we decide if we need to do more testing from there. Usually, if we're talking about an initial eligibility and discovering that a student has a disability, there are more evaluations that are planned for and take place. Step number 3 is that actual evaluation, where school psychologists, doctors, all of the pertinent data are put together, and within 30 school days from the referral, a student is evaluated to discover whether or not there is a disability at play. Right from there, 2 things can happen. After step number 3, sometimes students are found not to have a disability, and there's another plan of action that needs to take place. You've probably been a part of these meetings or heard a part of these meetings. To complete the special education process, we then move on to steps 4, 5, 6, and 7, which we're going to get into in the next couple of weeks, where we decide that yes, a student has a disability, which provides them with eligibility in the schools, and an IEP, the IEP process is started. We make a plan, including a present level of students, pull a lot of that data through for present level of students' area of need and abilities. And then after that, the initial IEP takes place. That's the green, step number 5. And after that, then it becomes an annual review cycle where the IEP is reviewed every year. And the evaluation, the diagnosis eligibility evaluation, is reviewed every 3 years, which is called a reevaluation, which continues the cycle. There are times when a student is found not to have a disability, maybe early on in elementary school, and this process is redone later on. There's a lot of intricacies that happen because you remember the I in IEP, the I in special education really is individualized. So this is a view of the procedures and process which are driven by our federal and state laws, but matched to fit the individual student's need.